And I think, is this a microphone or something? Yeah. I hope you got some editors because it's going to sound like the worst porn you've ever heard. So, are you waving at me? Oh, I got you. Okay. All right.
We're an all-inclusive meeting.
Yeah, let's do it. You still got that zoomed in? Because I'm going to run across the stage so you have to keep up throughout the whole fucking meeting. So my name is Jay. I'm a grateful recovered addict. That was weak. My name is Jay. I'm a grateful recovered addict. Yes, I need some fucking energy. So, yeah, I need some excitement in my life because recovery is exciting, right? So tonight I'm going to tell you guys my story. Oh, hey, baby. I thought you disappeared. I thought you were out there. Good to see you. This is my beautiful wife, Stacy, y'all. So tonight I'm going to tell you guys my story, what it was like, what happened, what it's like now. You will hear some bits and pieces that may sound like war stories. The only reason I tell those parts is so you have validation of who I am and that I am, in fact, a fucking addict, right? So don't think I'm glorifying or anything like that. I'm just telling you guys so you have something to relate to. Like she mentioned in the reading before, find places that we can relate, right? So my story starts off about 12 years old was my first drink. My parents separated. My cousins, the only way they knew for me to deal with it is the way they fucking deal with stuff, and that was through alcohol, right? So that's how my shit started off. That's how my comfort started off, the fact that I love the effect of what alcohol does for me, okay? By the time I was 14 or 15, I was smoking weed and snorting coke on a regular basis. I was kicked out of 4 different high schools, 4 different times, night school, college, fucking, I went through a lot of bullshit. So I was what people would consider a troubled kid. I started therapy when I was 12. I stopped when I was 36, when I got clean and sober. So when he says I'm retarded, I'm kind of retarded. But I knew at 15, I was doing cocaine, washing dishes at a restaurant. That's where my wife fell in love with me for some fucking reason. I was jumping across tabletops after closing time, after doing rails in the bathroom, and she was like, God, I fucking look at this guy. Like, here we are 22 years later, right? So I knew at 15, when I snorted a line of coke, I had to have cocaine the rest of the day until I fell asleep, right? I knew in my 20s and stuff, if somebody asked me to go have a beer at the bar, it was never going to be one beer. The next morning, it was 6 a.m. I'm dropping off muffins to my wife at work to apologize for not coming home the night before, right? Just for one beer. That's how it goes. So that's the long story short of it. I never thought I had a problem, per se. My entire family were alcoholics. Matter of fact, I got 2 cousins up here at Lotus Place and stuff. So my entire family drinks a lot. Half of us do cocaine a lot. So it was never really an issue that I did a lot of drinking and a lot of cocaine. When I started meth, it was a little different story, right? So that was something unknown to the entire family. All we knew about meth heads were that they were junkies and trash and da-da-da-da-da, and yada, 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 right? Everything that people call us. So when I started meth, I hid it for a long time. I lived that double life. And you know, it's one of those, I'm not that bad yet. That's where I was. I didn't understand the 3-part illness at this stage of my life. What I did know was that I'm just snorting meth, I'm not smoking it. What I did know was I'm just smoking it, I'm not shooting it, right? What I did know was I'm shooting it, but I'm not biting my fucking ear off. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm still managing I'm managing my life, even though I'm on suspension from my job for fucking suspicion of theft. Can't produce an income to pay child support or anything like that. So I feel like I'm managing my life still, and I'm not that bad yet, you know? And it took about 3 weeks after the first time I met a real tweaker, chewing off his own ear and licking his eyeball. And I remember specifically, you know what I'm talking about, right? Like, you know. So I remember looking at those guys specifically. It was the second time I'd ever shot up, and I was at the plug's house, if you want to call him that, her that. And And they came back in the window like doing their thing. And I remember standing over there like I'm not gonna end up like those fucking guys. Like there's no way. About 3 weeks later, I'm naked in my dad's backyard chasing shadow people. So it didn't take very long before I was fucking trying to do the same shit and pick my face for a couple hours. And so that leads up to I couldn't hold a profession, so I was a thief and not a typical tweaker thief. I didn't do a lot of stealing from Walmart and Lowe's and stuff. I did do some, but not a lot. My main thing was heavy duty equipment and shit. So we did some really large jobs, and I tell you that because it's going to lead into another part of the situation or another part of the story. And that was my thing. So, and I was not bragging, but I was really good at it. Like we did dump trucks and excavator, like heavy duty equipment shit. On the night of February 14th, 2017, or the day, I was hanging out at my safe house. This girl was kind of a mini plug out in the woods. I say mini plug, she, had little bags and stuff, and people would trade clothes for dope and shit out there in the woods. And so she had this trailer. The entire bedroom was closed from people trading clothes for dope, So she said, Jay, you think you could put up some rods in here and make it a closet, like the whole bedroom a closet for her, because she has so many clothes. And I'm a fucking tweaker, so yeah, I can, right? Fucking right. 15 hours later, I come out the closet. Not in a homosexual way, but I did come out of the closet. And it was fucking it was fucking morning time. And it was like 7 in the morning, and this girl had 2 children the same age as mine. I think I left out the part where Stacy had left me and took the children away from me, rightfully so as a mother, so I don't hold any resentments against that. I actually am grateful she did that and kind of protected them from some of the deep shit. But so I came out of the house. She has 2 children the exact same age, a girl and a boy, just like we do. And she was outside in the driveway in her truck, and she had fixed herself some mac and cheese. The driver's door was open. She was sitting in the driver's seat, and she was hunched over, and she had mac and cheese dribbled down her shirt and stuff. And I didn't know if she was alive or dead. I thought she had died in the fucking truck. And I got in my truck, and I fucking drove away. And I knew in 30 minutes or less, her 2 kids were coming out of the house to go to school, and they were going to find her that way. And I still drove off. And I spent the entire day riding around trying to figure out who I was, like what had happened to me, And we were listening to Frank earlier. Frank said something earlier that rang a bell, that he said, I lost my family, I lost my friends, I lost everything. But the most important thing was I lost me, my self-respect, who I was, right? And that's the point that I got to. And so I found this little dope spot that I used to shoot up at, and I fixed the shot. I shot it up, and it turned out to be a 0.5 gram of rock salt instead of ice. And if you don't know, rock salt burns like a son of a bitch when it goes to your fucking heart. So at this point, I was fed up, and I was done. I was tired of being betrayed. I was tired of fucking having to be on defense all the time. I was tired of getting screwed over all the time. I was tired of fucking having to watch my back all the time. I was tired of not having my family around, and tired of being a fucking alone, and just tired of fighting this shit. You know what I mean? Like, I couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. I'd been to IOPs. I'd been to fucking therapy for 20 fucking years. I did all this stuff. Nobody could tell me what was wrong with me, right? And I was just tired, and I thought the world would be better off without me. So I fixed up the rest of the gram of fucking rock salt and tried to kill myself with it. And it didn't work. It just hurt really bad. And sometime in between there, I started making calls because I was trying to kill myself. So I wanted to talk to my wife and kids one more time before I died. So I started making calls and shit. Somehow, Stacy had me blocked, but my cousin answered the phone, got in touch with my mother. My mother wanted me to come to her house, and I'd fucking failed at killing myself. Like, how fucking big of a loser. Anybody ever fail at killing themselves? Yeah, the fucking room, right? Okay. So I just felt like defeated. Like I can't even kill myself. You know what I mean? Like that's how fucking defeated I was. And so I drove over there, and Stacy had told me about the Owl's Nest about 2 years prior to this. Told me to check into it. I opened up the laptop and looked up the Owl's Nest, and it said 28-day minimum stay, and I fucking closed it. It was like, yeah, you're full of shit. Like, I'm not going anywhere for 28 days. Like, you've lost your mind. And so this night, I decided to call him on the way to my mom's house, and because I didn't have another option. Like, I'd got to that point, either I'm gonna fucking die or I'm gonna get some kind of help. I gotta try to get help. And so I called the Owl's Nest. This beautiful woman named Kristen answered the phone, sweet as can be. And I was talking to her. She said, "Yeah, we got a bed open, and it's $1,400 down, and you can come on up." And I was like, $1,400? Like if I had $1,400, I wouldn't be on the fucking phone with you. I'd be fucking high as shit somewhere, Like what the fuck are you talking about? And I just couldn't fucking understand how the fucking addict had $1,400. What are you talking about? Like, if you're an addict like me, I'm on the fucking street and homeless at this point. Like, I don't have $1,400 to go to treatment, And so I hung the phone up on her and yelled at my mom a few times because, the whole situation, because, it was their fault that I can't get help because they're trying to charge me $1,400, right? Because I'm not going to take responsibility for my own fucking actions. So, I'm yelling at her and I end up taking off. So I told you guys I steal big shit, right? So that was my ego tripping fucking reputation out when I was using. And my ultimate goal when I was using was to steal a helicopter. So that was going to be my going away, this is how I'm a fucking die reputation. I'm a die as a kingpin stealing a helicopter. I'd watched about 30 hours of YouTube. I knew exactly how to pilot single, doubles, all that stuff. And when I left my mom's house, I wanted to go by my wife's house and just drive by one time from outside looking in, And on the way, there's an airport. It's a small airport, small town. And there's never helicopters there, but voila, as I'm driving to Stacy's house, there's a helicopter next to the fucking road. And I was like, ooh. Like, here's your fucking sign from God. Like, just fucking, you can't kill yourself. You can steal this fucking helicopter and die. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna ride by her house and I'm gonna come back and get this bitch. And something, when I rode by her house, I didn't see them. My mom called me back, begged me to come back to her house, and said that she was on the phone with the Nest and stuff. And so I did. And this guy, Philip T., who is married to Kristen now, is a wonderful guy. And if you guys don't know yet, people that work in treatment, admin, shit like that, be fucking grateful for those people. You know what I'm saying? Because they are a special kind of fucking person to deal with us. And Philip T. talked me for at least an hour, talked me down, and convinced me to come up there, come up here, I guess. In this process, I'll tell you guys the funny story that everybody likes. So in this process, I'm in my mom's house. She has a little brick house. There's not a whole lot of neighbors behind her. She just had a double door, screen door put in, sliding door, whatever, glass door. She doesn't have curtains on this glass door because she doesn't have neighbors behind her. And I don't know if you guys know, but tweakers don't like fucking windows, right? So I'm sitting in the living room with this double glass door beside me with no curtains. The lights on inside, it's dark outside, and I know everybody can fucking see me from outside. And I'm fucking freaking out, right? She also leaves the door open this much for the cats to be able to come in and out. So I'm sitting there and I'm just freaking out about this fucking window. I just got into a big old physical fight with an old partner of mine. And I start hearing a meow sound like a cat, right? And mind you, my mother has never seen me in a mental psychosis or a meth psychosis before, and that's where I was. I was probably 7 or 8 days straight, just shot up with fucking rock salt and shit. So I was not in a good headspace, right? So she's freaking out. And I can see her praying out of the corner of my eye. She's just over there in the fucking chair just praying because she's a good Christian woman. And I hear this cat, but it's not a cat. It's a human making a cat sound. You know what I'm talking? So somebody is out this backyard, meow, right? And I'm like, what is that? And I'm thinking my partner has found me at my mom's house and he's out there fucking with me because I can't see outside this fucking window, you know? So I'm, Mom, do you fucking hear that? She doesn't know what to do. She thinks the best thing to do with my psychosis is to agree with me. So she's like, yes, baby. Yes, I hear it, baby. So I just got validation from a sober Christian woman that there is a man outside making a cat sound at us. So I freak out. I said, go get me the gun. She says, I don't own a gun. Give me some flashlights. Like, we got to figure out what the fuck's going on out here in this yard, you know? And she said, baby, I don't have any of that shit. I said, well, then you're going to call the cops. Like, somebody needs to come check this yard because there's somebody out here. I heard it. You heard it. Somebody needs to check this yard. So my dumb ass just had my mother call the cops on me with stolen tags on my truck and shit in the driveway. And so it was a whole disaster. But, and still to this day, I haven't asked her what she told this cop. But he literally came in the house and he looked at me and he looked back at her. She told him, yes, the backyard, you know, is where we're hearing it. And she's going along, poor soul. She's going along with my whole fucking thing. And so this cop was like, okay. And he just walked out and didn't fucking look at me twice. So I don't know if she said he's fucked up or what, but I'm trying to get him help. Just go with it, you know? Like, I feel like that's what the conversation was outside before he came in the house. So he went out in the backyard, he checked everything, he come back, he said, we're all good, nothing out there. I said, cool. So he left and I said, Mom, we got to do something about the fucking window. If I'm gonna stay here, we can't do this shit. Like, this fucking window is killing me. So she goes and gets a sheet. We put a sheet above this thing, right? Which is cool. And I'm like, all right, now we're good. Well, I told you she leaves the door open this much. So the wind is, so the wind is now blowing the sheet in and out of the fucking door. The cats have never seen this before. The cats start freaking the fuck out. And they're up and down the couch, over at the door, looking out, up and down, around the sheet, back over here. And I'm like, holy shit. Oh, I said, they know. Somebody's outside. They fucking know. My mom, poor God bless her fucking soul. My mom is freaking out. The cat runs out the fucking sheet. And then I just pictured Deliverance. And my partner's out there, cuts the cat's head off and rolls it back through the door. I said, I can't fucking do it. I slammed the door shut. I said, cook me something to eat. I got to eat. I got to do something to get, my mind straight and da-da. So we finally got through that night. Thank God she got me up here to the nest the next morning. Thank you, Lord. And I'm going to tell you what, when I got to the owl's nest, I was in full defense mode, full fear mode, I didn't know what to fucking expect. Scared out of my mind. Everything I'd ever heard using was that there's no hope in rehabs because those people have been to rehabs and now they're back out on the street. That's the ones I'd talked to, right? So those people tell me that shit doesn't work. I've tried everything. I jumped out of the car on the way to rehab, fucking all this stuff. Like, there's no hope in rehabs, treatment centers. And so I didn't know what to expect. And this little guy came out, and he's about 5'2". Some people in this room know him. Maybe 45 years old at the time. A little pudgy guy, he comes out, and I won't get out of the car. My mom's already been in there to sign papers and stuff, and I didn't want to get out of the car. And he comes over, and I'm smoking a cigarette, and he comes over there, he goes, man, I'm Scott. He said, why don't you come inside? Your mom just signed these papers and stuff, and let's get you taken care of. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. He goes, okay. And he walked over. And he stood there just like that with his arms out for a hug. And I said, this fucker's got some balls. It's like, because I'm about to hit him, you know? Like, you don't hug a drug addict off the fucking street. Like, that's just retarded in your words. But he fucking stood there. And I said, you know I'm about to hit you. And he said, I feel it. I said, you're still standing there. And he said, yes, I am. And he just stood there. And I don't know if it was just because I had respect for him to have the balls to stand there knowing I was about to punch him in the face or what, but I gave the guy a hug. And it was the first time in my life that someone loved me and hugged me for who I was and where I was in life. It wasn't a family member. It wasn't somebody that wanted something in return. He loved me for me because he knew where I was, right? So that was enough to get me in the fucking door. Along with one other guy who came over and told me his story. He used to be a meth addict like me. And he said, man, this place is fucking great. Come in, hang out. We'll eat some hot dogs in a few minutes. And I was like, it's not a really good selling point, you know what I'm saying? Like fucking hot dogs. But, you know, and I went in, I signed the paperwork and stuff, and I got in there. And for the first, I don't know, 10, 12, 13 days, all I could do was try to figure out how to get out, how I could get out of there. Day 3, they gave me trash duty. The dumpster was down at the bottom of the hill in the woods. There was a guy named Panic, God rest his soul, who was alumni. Panic had a tree service. Panic's trucks and equipment were parked down the hill by the dumpsters. So when I went down there at night to throw away the trash, the first thing I see is a skid steer on a trailer with a dump truck parked in front of it. And that's my fucking thing. That's my key. You know, that's what I fucking do. So this was my way out. This is the way I was going to escape rehab. And I just kept telling myself, if you could just fucking stay. Just fucking stay and see what this is about. Just give it some fucking time. Don't steal the fucking truck. Just fucking stay here and see what it does, see what happens. So I did that. And then every day, that little short 5'2" fucker, he would see me and he'd say, hey man, what step are we on? Hey man, what step are we on? Every single day. And I wasn't on any step because I wasn't working steps and I wasn't reading the book. You know what I mean? And I said, well, shit, this fucker's going to keep asking me. I need to put some step work in, at least act like I'm working steps, you know? So I got this big guy named Bo. He's about 6'4", 250 pound, super intense. I fucking love cocaine guy. I can relate to that, right? So I got this guy, and Bo, you know, when we started talking about powerlessness and unmanageability of my life, I knew I was powerless way before I accepted the fact that I was powerless. Does that make sense? So there was the time, I figured out the time I knew I was powerless. Up until this point, I thought I had control over it. But Stacy, like I told you, Stacy had taken my kids and was keeping them, and DSS got involved, and DSS wanted me to go take a drug test. And I stayed clean for about 24 hours, 48 hours. I drank all the fucking potions. I did all this stuff, you know, that we do to keep ourselves clean for a drug test, because I had to take this drug test just to have supervised visits with the kids, right? But I knew if I could do that, if I could just pass this test, I could show everybody I wasn't a fucking junkie. I'm not a drug addict. I can spend time with my kids. I can do this, right? And I went to DSS. I had a shot loaded for afterwards. And I'm parked right by the door, and I couldn't get out of the truck. And I remember specifically, like I was looking at this shot, and I was like, man, you just got to go in here and piss. Like, that's all you got to do. Just put it down, walk in these doors, take your piss, come back out, you can have your dope. You know, do it for your kids. And I literally had to fight my left hand and my right arm to not put the needle in my arm. And I sat out there for a fucking hour fighting myself, and I still fucking used that dope. I couldn't get in the fucking place, to even take a piss, to go see my kids, to get visitation, right? Like, how fucking pathetic. But that was the day that I realized I had zero control, zero power over this thing. And but I didn't want to admit that I didn't have power over it. As long as you didn't know I didn't have power over it, as long as I was lying to you and trying to convince you that I was good, then in my mind, I'm still good, right? It wasn't until that night that I was trying to kill myself before I was willing to accept the fact I could not defeat this on my own. You know what I mean? And so when I got there and we did step one, it was really easy for me to admit that I was powerless over it because I'd already accepted it at that point, right? That came to believe that a power greater than me could restore me to sanity. That took a few minutes. So that was Bo and them teaching classes, Philip teaching classes, Kristen's teaching classes. There's staff up there. There's other people up there that's in recovery. Much like Potter House and the treatment centers here, there's others, there's alumni. Amanda's a perfect example of alumni that come back and that help, that show God working in their lives and what God can do, right? I was a religious background, very religious, brought up in Baptist and Pentecostal and stuff. Holy crap, like that time flies when you're having fun. So I was brought up in all that stuff. So for some guy to be up there cussing and talking about snorting cocaine and doing all this shit that he used to do and then talking about how God changed his life, for me it didn't make sense because I was a religious person, right? I was brought up in church. You don't cuss on church grounds. You don't smoke cigarettes on church grounds. That's all sin. You know what I mean? So for him to sit up here and talk about it and then talk about how God changed his life and what God's doing for his life, it didn't make sense to me. So then I started watching all these other people in their lives. And these people aren't driving fancy cars. They don't have fancy houses. They live in staff houses and get paid $200 a week, whatever it is. That's not what I was looking at. What I saw was peace, serenity, and happiness, no matter what money they were making. They were happy, and that's what I wanted, right? So that's when I came to believe that God could possibly restore me to sanity. At this point, I'm just trying to trick these people into thinking that I'm working the steps, right? Because I'm still halfway in, halfway out the door. We get to step 3, and Bo says, you can do this step in your room. You can do this in front of the whole group. You can do this with me. However you want to do it, you have an option. And of course, if I'm trying to trick you into thinking I'm doing my steps, I'm going to do this shit in my room so nobody knows I'm not doing it, right? So I take the big book, I go back to my room. I was like, man, I better read over this prayer so I'd know when they ask me questions tomorrow what I'm talking about, right? So I can continue to trick these people. Thank God, God tricked me, right? Because I read that prayer, and that faith of a mustard seed is all we need, right? I read that fucking prayer. I walked out the front door of Heath White at the Owl's Nest. The grass was greener, the trees were greener, there's animals all over the place. There's like a burning bush experience. The book describes a spiritual awakening as a psychic change sufficient enough to bring about recovery. That was my spiritual awakening. I was no longer fighting to not go steal that truck and get the hell out of there. My next steps were to the office to find out what step 4 was. Does that make sense? So my whole mindset, my psychic changed from trying to run to trying to work the steps and finish the steps, right? So I'm gonna try to fucking fast forward through this a little bit to get you guys. So I worked 4-step with somebody, did a 5th step, got through all these things. And what I realized in my 4th and 5th step the most was I resented myself the most, right? Number 1. Number 2, that 100 forms of fear, I did not understand what that meant until I did a 4-step. My entire life, every living breath, from the time I woke up to the time I went to sleep to the time I woke up to piss in the middle of my sleep, was controlled by fear. Every single, what you think of me. I'm gonna say this because I think you'll like it. I'm gonna say this because I think he won't like it and you don't like him, so I wanna make sure you see what I'm fucking saying about him. Does that make sense? I could not talk without a fucking lie coming out of my mouth based upon fear, right? I'm a tough guy, love fighting, fucking loved it growing up. Every time I fought was out of fear. I was just a pussy, period. Point blank. Every single time I fought, I was scared of you. I wanted you to think I was tougher than you. I wanted everybody in the room to think I was tougher than you, period. It was all based on fear. But I thought I was a tough guy, right? Because I'll swing on you. Let's do it, right? But really, I'm just a fucking pussy inside, right? So that's the stuff I learned 4th and 5th and 6th and how to give that stuff to God. And then 8 and 9, you know, I didn't do a whole lot of amends in the nest, but I did start making them, and then started on 10, 11, and 12. And I'll tell you this because I know a lot of people in treatment are here. Day 60, my wife came to see me. Oh, let me go, sorry. So all this time that I start the nest and stuff, my wife has blocked me. We're not talking. I haven't seen each other for months. The way our relationship went, we were married for 14 years or something at the time. How bad it got was I came out from behind a gas station one time from shooting up, or a grocery store from shooting up. And when I pulled around the front of the grocery store, my wife and son were walking out of the grocery store. I had to stop to let them cross over to the parking lot, and they didn't even acknowledge me. Like, I didn't even get a wave. My 9, 10-year-old son, nothing. No nod, no nothing. Like I didn't fucking exist. That's how bad our relationship got, right? So I'm at the nest and I make this deal with God, that whole let go and let God that I didn't understand people talking about. They always say it and I'm like, fuck you, I don't know what it means. I finally figured out what it meant. And I sat down at the men's, and I didn't know at the time that's what I was doing, but I sat down at the men's office and I was like, man, God, I don't even care anymore. Like, where you want me. I know if Stacy doesn't take me back, it's consequences of my actions, right? I'm willing to accept that. If you want me to stay in Florence, work in treatment center, make $200 a week, I'll fucking do it. If you want me to go here and do this, I'll do it. Whatever you want me to do, I will do. And that's letting go and letting God. Is giving your entire will, your entire want over to God. And so I did that. And the very next weekend, my mom came up for a visit. And the weekend after, 2 weeks later, she brought up my son with her, right? First time I'd seen him in months. And he came up and he hugged me, and the first time I'd hugged him in, I don't know, it could have been a year or more. And after the visit that day, I gave God that, I fucking see what you're doing, right? These are breadcrumbs God's given me. I'm doing the right thing. I'm on the right track. I stay on the right track. Just keep doing what you're doing. I got you, is what I felt like God was telling me, right? And so 2 weeks later, I'm not calling Stacy, telling her how good I'm doing, begging her back. I'm not doing all that bullshit. I'm focusing on my recovery and God. Point blank, period, right? That telephone ran more people out of that fucking recovery place than I'd ever seen in my fucking life. Amen. You know what I mean? Just keep that in mind when we're in these treatment centers, right? So I didn't call her and say, hey, I'm doing fucking great. Come check me out. Come check out what's going on up here. It's fucking amazing and da-da-da. I didn't call her and doing that shit. I just stayed the right path. My son went home and said, hey, you should go check out Dad. He looks good. He's doing good. 2 weeks later, she came up to see me. Come to find out, it was to bring divorce papers. But it's like, oh, I fooled you. But to tell you how God works, is she never brought the papers out of the car, right? She saw how good I was doing. She saw all the things that were going on. And she said, you know what, I'm gonna leave the divorce papers in the car for now and kind of see where this plays out, right? That's what God can do for us. You know what I'm saying? So while I'm in rehab, I keep saying rehab, treatment center. While I'm in the treatment center, man, I'm working these steps and I'm like Mr. fucking AA. I'm working maintenance on campus. I'm like big dude on campus, you know? And my ego is just fucking coming back already, like 60 days. I'm fucking good, man. 62 months for 25 years of fucking using. 2 months, I think I'm good, right? I work these steps. All my friends are going home early, right? They got fucking cars picking them up and shit. It's like, yo, fucking see ya. I'm like, fuck this. Like, I'm still here, you know? Stacy came up. I said, baby, this is a volunteer thing. We're working things out. It's going good. Like, I can just jump in the car. Like, let's go. 60 days. I've worked the steps. I'm cured. You know what I mean? And she said, no. She said, no, I don't think so. She said, you're not jumping in my car. I was like, why? What's going on? And she goes, you're going to do 90 days and complete this program. I said, why? I've done the steps. Like, I'm doing great. And she pulled out her phone and she played this voicemail that I left her the night I tried to kill myself before I actually went to the nest. And the moment she started playing that voicemail and I heard my voice, that night rushed back to my memory like it was fucking yesterday. And the fear and the depression and all the bullshit that was inside of me that night came right back. And I said, you're fucking right, I'm staying. I'm gonna do 90 days. And thank God she did that. And so I finished the 90 days, and thank God I did, because that's when I started sponsoring people. The book talks about the intensive work with other alcoholics is what keeps us sober. That's exactly right, right? So I started sponsoring people. That's where the real miracle for me started happening. Man, it brings you alive. That God-sized hole that we've been trying to fill with alcohol and drugs and gambling and sex and food and all this shit that never actually makes us happy, just more miserable. Helping other people fills it. Helping other people brings that light out, right? So this whole time I'm feeding my spirit junk and just trying to kill myself, kill my fucking soul with all this bullshit. If I just switch it around and feed my soul positivity, then I feel great, right? So that's the point that it got to me for that 90 days, and I'm gonna try to get through some God stuff for you guys. So if it wasn't miracle enough that we started working things out and we started getting back together, when I was at the nest, I contracted I figured out I had Hep C, and the place that tested me and shit gave me treatment for free. It was $80,000 treatment, and not only gave me free treatment, gave me gas money to come back and forth to Florence to fucking do the treatments, right? So that was like an amazing thing for me. And when I left there, I had no license, no car, no anything, really. I was able to, through AA, I want you guys to know everything I'm talking about tonight, all these God things that are working out, every bit of it has come through AA. Or CA, excuse me. Every bit of it, one way or the other, has come through this 12-step programs, okay? When I got home, I was going to meetings and shit. I was living in the same room that I used to cook in and shit and stuff, and I was just fucking getting swirly as shit, and I needed a sponsor, but I didn't know who to ask, right? Because at the nest, it's easy to ask, you know, whoever's running the place, you know, whatever. But out there, I don't know these people. I don't know what kind of life they live, right? So I'm trying to watch them, and the whole time I'm fucking getting spiritually sick at the same time. And finally, this guy who's been leading this book study for a few months, Lee, you guys might know Lee B, he does workshops and stuff up here. So finally, this guy, Lee B, I'm watching him for weeks do this book study, ask him to be my sponsor. We sat down. The first time we sat down, I said, man, I think I need to do another 4-step, like I'm feeling swirly. You know, and I hear that in the rooms all the time, like do another 4-step, do 2 or 3 a year if you got to, da, da, da. He said, man, I don't think you need to do another 4-step. He said, I think you're spiritually sick because you ain't fucking helping another alcoholic. And listen, he was exactly fucking, it was like a light bulb went off in my head, like, holy shit, you're right. And so I started working with other alcoholics and stuff again, and he was absolutely right. My soul started filling up, started getting good again. He got me my first job, was through another one of his sponsees. I'm still working that same fucking job today, right? So everything I received from God has been through someone in this program or someone or something in this program, right? My sponsor has a sponsor. His ass is sitting right here, right? So that's the network that we have. My sponsorship family puts in the fucking work, right? That's the people I want to be. When I see Frank fucking talk, when I see Frank up here doing workshops, when I see Frank sponsoring people and I see him in meetings and stuff, that inspires me to do more and keep in my program, right? So I was facing 75 years, like 50 years in a federal penitentiary, 25 years in a state penitentiary. I didn't get to court until a year and a half after I got out of the nest. People from the nest, people from AA, people from CA, my job, they all wrote letters to the judge, right? And my whole thing was I didn't know any of that shit even did any good. Like, who the fuck reads all these fucking letters and fucking, you know what I mean? Like, maybe the secretary read them or something, right? I had a public defender because I'm poor as fuck and couldn't afford one. And man, listen, I remember my first paycheck came, it was $172 or some shit, and I was driving down the road like I was a fucking Kevin Gates rap star, boy. I was just fucking, boo, I got $172, baby. Yeah, and then it fucking hit me. I couldn't even cash it because I didn't have a driver's license or anything. So I'm going to court for this thing, and I meet my public defender over the phone the week before, and she's telling me, you know, I don't know what's going to happen and all this shit. So we get there the morning of. I'm walking down the hallway. This guy comes up to me and he says, "Hey, are you James?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I'm so-and-so." I don't remember his name. He said, "I'm so-and-so. I'm your public defender." I said, "No, my public defender's a female. Like, I talked to her last week." He said, "Oh yeah, she's pregnant. She's out having a baby." Yeah, that's fucking great, but I have court right now. He said, yeah, I got you. You just took over this fucking case this morning? Yeah, but I read up, we're all good. I was like, you know this is 75 fucking years that you know what I'm saying? Like, that's something serious. And he goes, "Man, I think we're okay. I think we're okay." You know, and I was like, holy shit. My family's there, you know, some people from my job, some people from CA and AA. And so we go in there and this judge is just looking at all this stuff. And I'm telling you this because I want you to see how God works through these people and through these programs. And the judge is up there and he's talking, and we get through all this stuff, and he says, "Mr. Fincher," he said, "you got almost 2 years clean." And I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "We don't get to see that in here, especially off of meth." He said, the statistics are about 2% of meth addicts get clean and stay clean. And I said, "Yes, sir, I feel like I'm doing the right thing. You know, I feel like I'm on the right path." He said, "I think you are too." He said, "I read all these letters." And I was like, holy shit, he read all the letters, right? And he said, "Everybody in these letters feel like you're on the right path and you're doing the right thing." He said, "So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna knock this down to 6 months probation." And I looked at my public defender and I said, "For each charge?" He said, "No, total." And I said, "Tell him thank you and let's go." He said, simmer down, you know, he's talking. And the judge said, "Man, I can't get over, you know, how much support and stuff you have and all this shit that's going on." And he said, "I'm gonna give you conditional discharge. If you do 6 months probation without missing a beat, you pay everything on time, you pop every drug test clean, you come in here and give us $350 to the court, we're gonna drop all these charges like they never existed. And you better bet I was a half hour early for every drug test and paid that motherfucker in full ahead of time, right? Making $10 an hour. Every dime went to that fucking probation office. And so those are the things that we found out later on in life, or a few years later, whatever, that judge has a son in active addiction, right? You see how God works? See how that flips around? I didn't know that shit. That public defender didn't know that shit. God knew that. These things can't work out. I cannot plan that thing to work out any better than that. If I planned it, I would have been like, "Look, just give me like 5 years." You know? Right? Like, I would have been like trying to get something low, but whatever. But I'm not the planner, thank God. Right? So since then, my wife and I are back in the same house, kids, all that good stuff. I've been able to see my son's middle school graduation. I've been able to help support him through private school. He's now graduated high school, working. I've been able to see my daughter's graduation. And for that was a miracle in itself. So I had a special relationship with my daughter. She's actually my stepdaughter. I helped raise her since she was 2. And when she got about 13 or 14, we made a deal. If you want respect from me and you want leniency to go do stuff, we have an open discussion relationship on honesty. When you break that fucking relationship, you don't get to do anything, right? But as long as you're open and honest about stuff, we'll give you some leeway, right? So that was the relation. Man, we went to softball games and stuff. Like, we had a great relationship. And I fucked that up completely when I went into meth addiction, right? So now she had one of the toughest positions because she's in high school. We all know how high school kids are. And these kids are bringing my mug shots to class and shit, fucking with her and stuff, right? So her hatred for me when I was getting clean was pretty fucking high, you know? She, as a matter of fact, she called her mom a stupid bitch when she told her she was working it out with me, right? Since then, because I keep doing the right thing, because I keep doing this program, I was invited to a graduation, right, to watch her walk across the stage. She has a daughter now. She's married with a daughter. Here's one thing for you, how God works. She's getting married. Her real father's been in her life the whole time. And she asked me to do the father-daughter speech at her wedding. That's the miracles that God can do for you if you just stick to this program and keep doing it. She now has a daughter, fixing to be 5, a grandbaby who fucking loves us to death, who loves me. I'm allowed to pick her up any fucking time I want. You know, another real quick God story, and I'll end it there, on how God can work out things better than we can. So a few years ago, my dad got real sick. He started getting dementia and stuff, and we couldn't afford to pay for health care, you know, between my brother and my sister and I. And so I was blessed with an opportunity to leave my job. I was a supervisor at this company, to leave my job and go take care of him for a year, right? So I got to be there, if that's not special enough with all the other stuff. My dad, who watched me go through active addiction and shit for 40 years, now I get to be the one to return the favor and take care of him, right? For a solid year, I was his primary health care giver. And so he passed away a couple years ago. And afterwards, I was going to go back to work, right, at the pool company where I am now. And the guy, I'm talking to him, and I'm like, yeah, you know, I want to come back to work and stuff. He goes, yeah. So I think we can do that. He said, I want to make you vice president. And I was like, what? It's like, yeah, we're going to make you vice president. We can give you some profit share. We'll give you a truck, da-da-da. I was like, what the fuck just? Like, are we in the right room? You know what I mean? Like, anyone in here, go tell your boss, you're going to take a year off of work to take care of your sick family member, and when you come back, you want a fucking promotion, and let's see how it goes, right? Like, I was grateful to be able to talk to him about coming back to work, you know what I mean? But not only that, he gave me a fucking promotion in the process. That's the things that happens when you do this program and you do it the right way and you follow God's path, right? So I think that's all I got. If you guys want more God stories, you fucking talk to me afterwards. I got 1,000 of them. I'll be more than happy to tell you. Everybody that I know here, I love y'all. I'm glad you're here. Thank you.